Beau from BEAU'D Not Broken, and we are here with Toby and Missy out in Tooele, Utah, in the United States for our Periscope watchers, if there's any outside the country, which Periscope is kind of interesting. We're a day away from, or tomorrow's Friday is BEAU'D Friday, and if you've seen any of my videos or any of the things that other people's pictures, we wear our superhero shirts underneath uniforms or shirts, whatever it is, or on top, very visible, showing that we're all superheroes. We're all going through this life together and trying to help each other, motivate one another, make sure we make it through together. And that's what this show is all about. It's called The Daily Bend, and we call it The Daily Bend because we're all BEAU'D, not broken, and we live with faith and courage and endurance. And that faith is not necessarily religious, but it's based in ourselves. There's a lot of things that we go through that we need that faith in ourselves to make sure things happen. Again, our show is downloaded onto YouTube every day. It's on social media, Beau Babka page, the BEAU'D Not Broken page, and then whoever comes on, and those that have been on, they like to throw those out there and share them as well. We never know what's going to happen. These are not scripted, as you can see. We're not scripted. We smile a lot. We have a good time. And, you know, let's get right to it. Don't forget that if you have a comment, question, or you'd like to be on the show, please let me know. Private message me. My phone number is all over social media. You can text me, whatever it might be. You can email me off the BEAU'D Not Broken website as well. So with all that, we're going to get started. And with that, we're going to tell everybody again, this is called The Daily Bend, where we talk about adversities. We talk about how people have gotten through adversities. And I think today, we've had some great shows this week again, and I don't think that this will be any different. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. So anyway, both of you, thank you very much for having me here. The first question is always, tell everybody, you know, I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable, but tell us about some adversities that you guys may have had individually or together or something like that to kind of start the show off.
Well, I think that probably we've been married for about 21 years now. Mm-hmm. And
if I look at my watch and I look at there, yeah, quite often you'll know I'm just making sure that okay, we're still on, and sure, I'm making sure of time.
Not long after we got married, I was diagnosed. I realized that I was slowing down, and I kept telling my wife, you know, something's not right. I was going to school in Orem, and we lived in Bountiful, and I was working graveyards, and she kept saying, well, you know,
you're slowing down.
You're getting a little older. You're tired.
This is 20 years ago, though?
Yeah.
You're still young. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
And so we kind of went through, you know, I was trying to finish school, and I kept saying, I feel just like I'm going backwards, and things are just not right. And finally, after a while, we started seeing a doctor, and we went through this gambit of tests, and the first doctor said, you have stiff man syndrome.
Stiff man syndrome. Wow. I really honestly have never heard that. I don't know if anybody out there has either.
Okay. I think it's a legit thing, but to us,
but at the time, did you look at the doctor and go,
yeah,
and we're like, what is that?
Is that like stick figure syndrome or stiff? No.
The propensity to be stiff.
Okay.
Is what he said.
Yeah.
A muscular?
Yeah, muscular disorder.
Okay.
And that just didn't settle. That didn't. That sounded so bizarre and stuff. So we just kept searching. You know, we went to another doctor, got another opinion, and we ended up at the U in Clinic A, the neurology department, and after a tremendous amount of tests, they finally diagnosed me with young onset Parkinson's.
Young onset Parkinson. I was going the multiple sclerosis route.
Yeah, and that's what we thought too.
But yeah, at a young, it's Okay.
Parkinson's. And
A lot of famous people have Parkinson's. Now, how does this differ? It's just young onset.
yeah, just
Okay.
You start at a young age and just
Which affects, and for anybody out there, which affects pretty much everything, right?
everything. Yeah, and the interesting part about that was that they gave me this this what looked like a map. Really, I mean, it unfolded and it had basically it was a decision map, and at the top it said, yes, no, and it branched out with circles and everything. If you go this route, you can't go this route, and you do these medications, you can't do this side, and it was huge. I mean, you folded it out; it was as big as our table, and people that are diagnosed with Parkinson's, only 20% shake. So not everybody shakes. You don't always
because
see all
you
of that.
you don't. I can see a little bit, but I don't. Yeah, I don't.
And but I started to until they got medications under control, and that took
years.
8 years.
So you were how old when this happened? How old were you when they said you've got this?
29.
29.
And
Okay.
it took 3 years of tests.
So what did you? I mean, at that time, what were you thinking? I mean, obviously you're young.
I thought my life was coming to an end.
Okay.
I mean, our family doctor at the time.
You got the beautiful wife.
Yeah,
you got
and 2 kids.
Yeah, you got.
And,
One on the way.
one on the way at the time that I was diagnosed, and our family doctor was just like, "I'm really sorry to tell you this. You may have 3 to 5 years good life, and that may be it.
Wow.
We may not find a medication regimen that's going to work for you before you
Right.
end up in a state that you can't do things."
Wow. You're watching the Daily Bend on BEAU'D Not Broken on the BEAU'D Not Broken network. We are with Toby and Missy. We've been talking about it, a diagnosis of Parkinson's at 29 years old with Toby, and we're here in Tooele, Utah, in the United States, and so for anybody that's kicking in right now, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and so I was just finishing school. I received a job offer to go to New Hampshire. That ended up, we had a newborn. I couldn't get my medications under control. We couldn't find housing, and we ended up staying. And then, of course, we saw the doctor 3 to 5 years. We thought we need to find a place that Missy could be able to afford, raise the kids. Ultimately, I would be gone. In my mind, I was thinking 3 to 5 years, I'm not going to be in a wheelchair. I'm not going to be a vegetable. I'm going to be gone.
Right.
And
so you were basically planning your exit.
Yeah,
The good old earth here.
in my mind, that's what I was planning. In her mind, I think she was planning caregiver, stay at home, take care, maybe change diaper kind of a thing.
Right.
And I think it was like 2 years after we were still trying to deal with medications, and we did some blood work, and I had a bacterial infection that I had to take care of, and from a tick bite.
Those are nasty. Ticks are nasty.
And
Carry lots of bad
Yeah, I
bacteria.
hear people all the time dying from tick,
Lyme disease.
eventually.
yeah, and so I had to come off the Parkinson's medications in order to do some antibiotics. They told me on the antibiotics 3 to 6 months. Then they said 6 to 9 months, and then after a year and a half, I was still on antibiotics.
So as a man, 2 questions, one for you and one for you. So as a man, what are you thinking at this time? I mean, what's keeping you in the game? Like we talked about, you're physically, things are not working. You're unhealthy. but again, you've got a family. You know, what's keeping you in that game? What's giving you that courage to continue on? And, you know, is it rooted in organized religion? Is it rooted in a combination of just you and you're wanting to stick around and you believing that you can be here for a while? Because, I mean, you're not gone. You're still here. Was there a certain point in that time, in the diagnosis, in those 3 years, what kind of brought you through that?
Honestly, in the first year, I lost my eyesight. For a while, I couldn't see. I had paralysis, and I was home.
Right.
With a nurse taking care of me, and I wanted to die. I didn't want to live. But I didn't feel like I had the strength to do anything about it. My son was born, and they would bring him in, and they would lay him next to me, and that I didn't. I didn't want him to see me like that.
He became somewhat of a motivation as well. He became a motivation. How about this lady over here? I mean, what was going through your mind with her? And then my question for you was, what did you think of everything? And how did you? I mean, obviously, you must be quite the coach, the pep talk, the motivator. So that question first, and then Missy's question answered, hopefully. What did you?
Just a day at a time.
Sometimes hours.
Yeah. In the second year, I kept trying to go back to work, and she kept saying, "You're going to be okay. It's going to be all right." And the medication would just get worse, and it was just painful and excruciating. And in the third year, I had seizures, and I didn't realize that at the time. She was trying to hold me up, and I landed on her, and I broke her back. And she just kept saying, "It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay."
Wow. How about you? I really want to tell everybody out there how much, and you guys, how much I appreciate you sharing your story. I never know I know a little bit what I'm getting into or what we're getting into, but there's a lot of emotion here, and I hope there's people out there watching that will watch, that will realize what amazing people are sitting here and what they've gone through, and if they can if there's anything that they say today and during this filming or taping, I hope you can take that for yourself and move forward as well. What were you thinking at this time? Sounds like these 3 years were 3 to 4 to 5 years. This time was probably the hardest.
I told him that he couldn't die because
No
I was
dying.
not going to raise 4 kids by myself. And I did have a lot of faith. Our religion, I prayed a lot, and I relied on my Heavenly Father a lot, especially because I didn't want my kids to go without a dad. And that was my biggest driving point, is I was going to make sure he was okay.
Right.
And I was going to be the best caregiver I could be.
Sure.
And I was going to do whatever I could.
Sure. Hold that thought. This is live TV, so I'm going to answer the door. Hey, how are you?
Hey. Oh, well, I'm gonna cut your hair tomorrow. Toby was supposed to tell you. We're doing an interview.
They're doing a live interview, so that's all right.
Sorry.
Is that okay?
That's all
Cut
right.
your hair tomorrow?
Tomorrow then.
Okay.
Same time, same
Same
place.
time, same place. Okay.
Thanks, you guys.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry, forgot
Live.
to tell him I would.
Hey, that's live TV for you. I even got to answer their doorbell. That's kind of
my
cool.
gosh.
They're a much needed bunch. So, so the hard times. What was the corner turner? Was there a corner turner there somewhere that maybe both of you at the same time, or an aha moment, or
You know, she. When we got married, we were moving some boxes out of the trunk. I didn't have very many things, and this book fell out. And in the book, I had a list of goals. And
your goals?
my goals from when I was a kid.
Oh wow!
And she had that list, and she's like, "You're going to complete these goals."
Wow!
And she held my feet to the fire on these things, like you're going to graduate from college. I had graduated from high school in a couple of years. I didn't go full 4 years. I just went a couple of years, and then I went to college. But I didn't graduate from college because I didn't take math.
Don't we love math? Everybody out there loves math.
And she's like, "You're going to take math." And I took math at UVSC and transferred them back up to Rick's and graduated. And she had me walk.
I made him walk with a group of people he had no idea.
And
that
with
I
my
wanted him
grandparents there to see me. She says, "It's not for you, it's for all of us."
Right.
And then she had me graduate with my bachelor's, and then she had me when I was sick. She says, "You're gonna finish your master's." It took me 12 years, but I graduated, oxygen and all.
I knew he wanted.
Where'd you get your master's from?
Westminster,
Wow, nice. And what'd you get it in?
MBA,
MBA.
Yeah.
Nice.
and
I didn't want him to be disappointed.
Right.
If there came, sorry, I get emotional. If there came a point at the end of his life, I didn't want him to be sad he never graduated from these goals that he had. So for me, I felt like I needed to help him accomplish, and it came with a lot of sacrifice. I would pile the kids in the car, and we would go pick Dad up at the airport because he would ride a bus from work up to school while he was sick, do his stuff, and then we'd meet him at the airport, and we did this like 2 or 3 times a week, and did it pregnant and all, and
whatever it took.
I needed to make sure that he didn't leave this life without feeling like an accomplished man.
Wow, that's that's important. I mean, men. You're watching the Daily Bend on the Bowed Not Broken Network, and we're talking to the Lees here in their home in Tooele. We've been talking about early, I guess you could call it early onset Parkinson's, and how Missy supported, everything, and tried everything that Toby got his master's degree, his bachelor's degree, and all the things in between, and got family and all that stuff. So hopefully you'll stay, and I'm very grateful that they let me come into their home today. So you graduated with your master's, and then how about jobs? What have jobs been like for you? And I assume you may have had to work as well outside the home, and maybe not. Who knows?
I was lucky enough that I worked for Fidelity Investments, and I remained employed with Fidelity through the whole time. all the way up until about 3 years ago. And
I stayed home.
she stayed home during one period of time. We really, really were in need and tried to have her go to work, and I had IVs all over, and the kids
And
were
you're going to work?
small, and yeah.
Talk about that for a second. I think that's interesting. Talk about the kids through this whole thing. I mean, two of them were there at the beginning, right, of this whole thing, and then now you've got one that's off in...
One's getting married in 2 weeks, and
so they're all older teenagers, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Talk about that. I mean, they've never really known dad and mom any other way, right?
And
I think sometimes it's hard for them because sometimes at the end of the night we're both so tired, me from taking him where he needs to go and helping him, and probably around like 8 we both kind of are like in our room because we're just exhausted.
we never held back.
But the kids,
We wanted them always to, in case something happened, we always wanted them to be a part. We would have them put little masks on,
Right.
and little gloves, and they would insert, I'd have central line, I had a portacath, and I had pick lines and machinings, and they would help me do the medicine, connect to the IVs, and they would wash their hands, and they watch the nurses and things, and they'd be in the hospital. We never prevented them from participating, because we always felt like if we did, what if they missed out on a moment, and if something
So they basically, your children became caregivers, and probably very willingly. There were probably sometimes they weren't, but on a Friday or Saturday night, right? But yeah.
But our kids are amazing. Like, they have so much empathy, and I really find this a lot in kids or people who have never been around someone who's sick.
Right.
That there is a lack of empathy. You can have sympathy, but sometimes you don't have that empathy.
Right.
And it's been amazing to watch our kids because they pick up on someone who is sick, and can I help you? How can I do this? My 19-year-old helps me a ton right now, where she just has got to make sure Dad's okay, and all the kids do. I didn't want them not to be around, like you said, the moments. And if that meant that while Dad was sick in the hospital and we brought them all in, they got time with their dad.
Right.
Because when they went home, there was a part missing.
Right.
And I think empathy is an amazing thing that kids, I think, with...
And we try to make it fun for them. With surgeries and stuff, and, Christmas time, we put lights up in the hospital, and we do different things to make it fun for them. And I think they enjoyed that. I don't think they missed out on anything. But 3 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago, the doctors in their tests and stuff found that I was narcoleptic.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
And the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, how about that? Hey. Wow, great movie.
Yeah.
We talk on this show about adversities, and we talk about people that live with faith and courage and endurance and hope and empathy and sympathy, and this family epitomizes that, definitely so. One more potentially negative question, then we're going to go way positive. Any negatives through your whole time? People treat you any differently? Stupid people acting stupid? Maybe a situation where you're treated less than human?
The handicap name tag is kind of an interesting deal, because we've had people park behind us, come right up to your face and yell at you, write down your license plate number.
What, you don't look handicapped enough or something?
Yeah.
Is that you don't look challenged enough? Oh, really? Okay.
One time I was riding the bus into Salt Lake, and this before we had the nice Olympic buses, and I wouldn't get up because the medication makes me nauseated in the morning, and so I sit, but these ladies, they get on the bus and they want you to, as we get into Lake Point, whatever, they want you to stand up and let the lady sit down. And I'd be happy to do that, but I'm so nauseated, I can't.
Right.
And so one day the bus driver finally stops the bus and he tells me, "Sir, you need to get up and let this lady sit down." And it's a big scene, all these people early in the morning.
Right.
And I'm like, I can't. And he's like, "I don't care. Stand up." And so I stood up, and I'm standing just beyond the line, holding the thing, and he takes off, and within like 5 minutes, I hurled.
Got the bucket out here? You hurled, huh?
I hurled.
Oh, well, good for him.
All across his dash.
Oh, good, good.
He stops the bus, the lady stands up, I sit down.
I'm sure.
And they never asked me to stand up again.
I'm sure you're the guy they don't mess with. Exactly.
The puker.
So, yeah.
Have you been? It's kind of on the. Let's move positive. Well, it's all positive, but the whole thing. Have you helped others that? Do you know others that have had your same diagnosis and you've helped and things like that?
Yeah, we have. We've been able to help quite a few people, whether it be through support group, the Parkinson's originally, the Lyme disease especially. For quite a while, we've even had, most recently, people that have contacted us for assistance in testing, where to go,
tested.
Oh, good.
doctors.
We have good facilities here. No, we don't. Where California has the
IGenics.
really where in California?
San Diego.
Oh, really?
IGenics. Here, ARUP is the lab, and unfortunately.
Well, no, I appreciate being candid because if somebody has potentially, needs to be tested or diagnosed,
they just
then
randomly
they should
choose
go.
the blood bands that they tested, and
IGenics.
I was positive on 2 of the 3 that they tested, and there's 16 blood bands, and so 2 of the 3, and they said it was negative. So we were like, okay, we'll get a second opinion. We sent 1 to Missouri and 1 to California. And I was positive on 11 out of 16 blood bands.
Oh, wow.
And so there wasn't any way to, say, well, it's not.
Because with IGenics, they only test for all the bacteria that the ticks carry. And so they can pick them up and they research it. And we only know of this one's place that really goes out of their way to make sure that people are getting diagnosed correctly.
And then, you go to your doctor and
just a blood test.
Yeah, just a blood test.
So the future of you. I mean, you've had this for 20, pretty close to 20 years, 18.
Pretty close to 20 years. Yeah.
You look great. You look like you were supposed to be gone after 5 years, right?
Amazing 5 years.
Yeah, and so sky's the limit. There's no further deterioration is not an option for you.
No, we were lucky enough that we made some decisions that we were not going to let. We were given this gift to live a life, and whatever it brought, we were going to deal with, and if we could help, we were going to help. And so, interestingly enough, 3 years ago, right? 3 years ago in April, my stepfather passed away, and I was the trustee and the executor, and he had dementia and Alzheimer's, died of cancer, and the trust dictated that we donate everything. Now I have a sister that lives here locally. She has small children, and my brothers all live out of state. And my mother, bless her soul, she took care of him for 10 years, and when he passed away, she wanted to retire, and so she's from Driggs, Idaho, and we called up there to get a headstone. That's where her, even though he was cremated, she wanted to go up there. And the man that talked to us on the phone just makes sure that people get their benefits for military. It doesn't have anything to do with this mortuary. And he says, "Now, who's your mother? What's her maiden name? Do you mind if I give her a call?" It's like, I've got thousands of other things I need to do, so no problem. So he calls her and they talk a lot. Turns out they grew up together.
Oh, wow.
And his wife died in December. And they have really seen or talked to each other in 52 years. And my grandparents and his parents used to play cards together, small community up there.
Right.
Well, they got married.
Wow.
And so she takes a small pickup truck of stuff and she says, "Good luck."
Wow.
And retire.
Moving on.
Yeah,
moving on.
We gotta clean up a house that had a whole lot of
6
stuff that he
bedroom, 2
donated.
bath,
Wow.
2-car extended garage,
Wow.
covered porch, and it's packed top to bottom. He was a curator at Fort Douglas.
Oh my gosh.
And it was the most amazing experience to travel across Utah and meet all these people and donate stuff
Oh wow.
to museums.
Yeah, I bet
and
that would be.
municipalities.
I bet that would be neat. It's like doling out money,
Yeah.
The ultimate thing is to, but that's even more valuable than money.
Yeah.
Would be someone's,
Right.
I don't know, army helmet, someone's state, someone's car that I don't know, those kinds of things.
And we got to get to know him in a way that
That's
in
neat.
life we never got to get to know him. And in that experience and through that stuff, we learned service in a way that we thought we knew service. We experienced helping others, doing things, finding ways to serve in our community with other people that we had never experienced before.
That's neat. And it's the best transition that we could obviously have on a show like for me, because sometimes it's difficult to transition. But you're watching the Daily Bend. We're here with Toby and Missy, and we've been talking about Parkinson's. We've been talking about the family. We've been talking about the struggles, the adversities for both of them and the family. But then again, the great positives that have come out of it, and then their subsequently Toby's stepfather passing away, and then them traveling throughout Utah with all kinds of memorabilia that they could give to people that, families of people that may have donated it or whatever. Let's transition into suicide. Let's talk about that. Where did you get involved, and tell the viewers what you're involved in and all that kind of stuff.
Well, so in this experience with my stepfather, I sit on the state board of funeral directors. My mother was a board secretary, and she says,
I didn't know they had a board of that. Isn't that they've got a board for everything?
Yeah.
Don't they?
she says, you should get involved. They're always looking for the public, and they're always short people to help on state boards.
Right.
And so put your name in, and whatever board they decide to set you up with, you'll get a letter if they decide to use you. And so I got a letter from Governor Herbert, his office, and with my background in finance and investments and things like that, I thought for sure, it would be
right. As a board membership, you could be the guy that, the finance chair and the whole
something.
thing. Yeah.
But funeral directors, funeral board, and so then I was teaching at USU financial planning 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And in our community here, we had just a huge number of suicides, kids, and it just devastated our community, absolutely devastated our community. It seemed like every day I was teaching and something was happening, and it hit home. And I had experienced something at work where a guy that I knew very well had turned 50, didn't have any kids, and committed suicide, and we weren't allowed to talk about it at all. And if you did talk about it, you were taken aside and told not to discuss it, and if you did again, you were sent home. And so you didn't have any way to grieve about,
We've transitioned on the show to suicide and talking about suicide, and what Toby's talking about, not talking about it. Talk about that for just a second. Not a good thing to not talk about it.
The stigmatism associated with depression and suicide and alcoholism and drug abuse and these things that we're not talking about. We need to reach out and let them know that there's a way out.
This is one of many shows with Toby and Missy and whomever else you'd like to involve. We only have so many minutes to talk about it, or else we'll go on for a couple hours. But I want to have you back. I want to have anybody or anybody from the foundation. We're going to continue to talk about it for a few minutes, but we've had people on this show, our little show, that have expressed they wanted to commit suicide because of all the things that were going on in their life, and everybody, pretty much mostly thought they were nuts because they wanted to do that. And it's important for us to continue the conversation about suicide because a lot of people think about it at certain times of their life, and we don't want them to. And so your organization, so you got involved after, well, obviously you can't talk about it at work. That was your experience. You can't,
right.
And let's go from there.
Right, and so after this happened in our community, a few people got together and said, well, what are the resources? What do we have? Is there a support group? And Tooele didn't even have a support group. We have a hospital out here. We don't have a support group. We don't really have any. We're not really addressing bullying. We're not addressing addiction. We have Valley Mental Health, but we have limited resources. The school district wrote a grant, and they were able to get a grant after the fact. But at this point, people have died. And
continue to die.
And continue to die as we're searching for resources and trying to communicate out there.
We need help.
So a group came together. Ed Hansen and Barb Hansen lost their son Jed. He left a wife and 3 kids.
So when we talk about suicide, we're not just talking about teens. We're talking about adults. I know from experience, I've had friends that have committed suicide, done those things. A lot of teens, And in in the news in the last few days, in some of the local radio stations and TV stations, they've talked about Weber County, maybe Tooele County, so it had the highest rates of suicide in Utah, and Utah has one of the highest rates of suicide per capita in the country.
Yes, absolutely.
So this is a very important thing to talk about, and that's why, again, not to beat a dead horse, but we're going to have you back on again.
Kim and Ted Young showed no signs of their son Cody. Ted was in his home and coming up the stairs, and their son didn't know he was home, and they lost their son Cody, and these folks, they came together and they said, we're not going to worry about what's not there, we're going to create it. And so they came together, they created a board, they funded it out of their own pocket. John Gossett and his wife, Becca Brown, Ed and Barb's daughter, and these folks, they all came together and they created Life's Worth Living Foundation. Life's Worth Living Foundation. I put the Facebook tag. I also put the website tag on it. We'll put it on again when we upload the show. How long has that been in existence now? Just over 2 years. Okay.
No, a year.
Is it a year? No, it's
okay.
It's
No fighting, you two. No
I'm
fighting.
not gonna fight.
But they funded it. It's a legitimate 501c3.
Right.
And they self-funded. They figured out that there was problems with the national hotline getting through, especially after 5 o'clock. It
figures.
Yeah, it goes by zip code,
Oh, really?
And it leaves a message, and it goes to your local.
There's always been jokes. I think there's been comics that have gone, I can't call the homicide because it's after 8 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock at night. Yeah.
It leaves a message.
Not
and
to kid about
it's
it,
1 to 3 hours to get a call back.
Wow.
And if you're in crisis, 1 to 3 hours is not okay.
Right.
And so they set up their own hotline and they man it themselves.
Okay, so you got this model here in Tooele County. Have you thought about it? Is the state looking at you guys as a model?
We have.
The only reason that comes to mind is every county, every area needs something like this. I would imagine, and the reason being is probably because you're keeping a few statistics. You've probably saved a few lives. You want to comment about that, or maybe
we have actually talked with people as far away as Australia. We don't know how they got our number, but they've called.
Really?
And any time, day or night, 24/7, you can call that number, and a member of our board will pick up the phone.
What kind of skills are you? I'm sure you're providing meetings and trainings and asking people quickly. Are you providing for people that are in crisis? I mean, that's pretty much the term, isn't it?
Yeah. So our board members are trained in the basic QPR. We've done Safe Talk training. We try to get them to the resources that they need. One of the best things that has been rolled out that we've worked with Senator Thatcher and Scott Ellison at the state capitol and with the Attorney General's office is the Safe UT app that's been rolled out, and most recently here in Tooele School District, they rolled it out this week. You can connect with that app on your phone in 15 seconds to Uni.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You can download it on your Android app, Apple app, and you can text, and it's totally anonymous. You can report things. You can video and upload, and you can call.
In all the time and all the things you've done, anything that you could advice you could give for people that they always say there was no sign. Are there some things that you could offer people that there might be some signs that someone might be in crisis?
There are some signs, especially when people back away from their life, their friends. They're giving things away. Maybe they're showing signs of that, and then all of a sudden they're happy. The reason that they're happy is because they have a plan.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's something to look at that, but so that manic, yet but that depressed is definitely a pattern, that a plan is in place,
right,
to exit things like that.
Yeah. And you know, the foundation's been able to do quite a few things that, like we've done scholarship, we've been able to help with burial costs, we've been able to reduce the costs of caskets and funerals and things like that. We've been able to step in and provide resources to families for counseling and things like that that weren't there before.
Right.
You know,
no judgment, kind of like this show that we're trying to. This is a no judgment kind of a show, and
right.
And no judgment. I wish we had more time. We've gone for almost 45 minutes, so I hope you'll have me back, or we can come to whatever facility or whatever we do.
Come back.
Thank you for sharing. Really, thank you for sharing. I mean, amazing, fantastic stuff. You've watched the Daily Bend, the Bowed Not Broken Network, and we've been here with Toby and Missy, and we appreciate them for having us in. We're going to talk. We're going to do a few more shows on suicide, and with Toby's help and Missy's help, and we'll air those coming up real soon. In fact, in the next few weeks, we'll try and get something going. Remember, it's all about the Bend, and don't forget tomorrow it's BEAU'D Friday, and BEAU'D Friday is wearing your superhero shirt, Superman, Wolverine. Could be your high school, colors, could be your favorite college, could be, I don't know, Donald Trump shirts. I don't know. I get in trouble for saying that, but we're all superheroes. We're all superheroes, and that's the reason why I wanted to initiate BEAU'D Friday. So hopefully that'll catch on with you, your friends, your family, maybe at work. Wear your superhero shirt underneath, wear it on top, whatever it is, so you don't get in trouble. And that's what BEAU'D Friday is all about. Again, thanks for watching, and we will see you again tomorrow with hopefully another good show. Thanks. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.